It's now 4 minutes after 7. Welcome back to the early edition of Kivumbi 2017. And we're talking matters education. A quick reintroduction of the guests and the panel that we have this morning. I have Amos Kaburu, who's a senior programs officer at Twaweza. We also have Andiwo Obondo, who's an education specialist. And gentlemen, just before we took the break, we were talking about some of the measures that are being introduced by the ministry to, first of all, rid of ghost learners and how that affects the quality of education. But as we are still looking at that, the problem might not necessarily be the system and the fact that this may not have an enforcement officer that is going to be given to do that. It looks like it's more something to do with goodwill. Will the system really sort this out, given that it still requires people to man it? And it looks like some of these inflated numbers are there on purpose, or have been put there manipulatively to ensure that those numbers are up, because there may be people who are benefiting from it.
Thank you, Mike. Actually, your assertion, I share in the same, and that is my personal view. I do not have any form of evidence, but I think I could use secondary sources, including the statements and utterances by the Cabinet Secretary, that it is true that the issue of the numbers is not a problem at the school level. Yes, it's something that is really endorsed from the top, because the benefits at the school level are so minimal to the head teacher. Maybe they are only inflating 4 children. So 4 children, they will only be getting 6,000 shillings. But you can imagine that someone at the top will have control, maybe to inflate about 2,000 children, will be in a position to get something like 6 million Kenya shillings. So there is a way in which any bad system benefits specific individuals and specific officers. And we have seen this even in terms of the issues of the textbooks. So we really have to get the real fulcrum. This is where the tire meets the road. And that's what the Cabinet Secretary needs to spend sufficient time to identify. Who are these rogue elements within the system at the top level that seem to be endorsing such? Because we know that the whole system around teacher promotion to become head teachers has had a lot of problems. So you have got head teachers who are cronies. They are appointed because of maybe their political affiliation, maybe because of particular interest that someone has. So when they have to reach there, we know the old adage that goes that he who pays the piper calls for the tune. So these individuals are working in cahoot of specific individuals. So it is true that wherever there is a system, it could be in a position to sort out these issues. We can't exactly tell because we don't have the exact details. Maybe 60%, maybe 70%. But the 30% could in the long term still run out to become quite problematic. Because we know if you have a tap in the house and it just seems to have a leak, within a night you don't feel that it's a lot of water, but if you are to give it a whole month, you'll end up realizing that your water bills have really gone high. So it is true that we really need to deal with these rogue elements at the highest level possible. And we saw with the issue of the textbooks, because we know that there were officers who will tell head teachers that accept that you've received books, and schools will actually sign in the inventory, delivery note that textbooks have been received. And then the same textbooks will still be taken back to the supplier the same day. So these were things which were being done and endorsed by officers at the sub-county level, at the county level, and some of them were even at the national level. And that's why one time DFID was even forced to stop the support to the ministry, direct grant to the Ministry of Education. And for instance, as I finalize on this, the issue of NEMIS is not a new issue. This is something that has been there for a long time. And in fact, where Andiwo is quite conversant with this issue, because he's among the people who are making these decisions, that World Bank, together with the DFID, and were the people who are supporting the government to come up with a reasonable NEMIS. And this project had to stall one time. For the reason being, top Minister of Education officials were just signing off money, telling people that they were hiring a projector for 70,000 shillings a day, that they were buying a packet of marker pens at the cost of 5,000 shillings. So these are issues which are known, and that's why this project has really had to stall. It is stalled because people knew that if we implement it, there are likely to be serious ramifications which are negative.
All right, we'll need to wind up because of time. And Andiwo, as you give us your closing comments, the areas that you possibly see or think the ministry should put this savings towards? Is it towards improving facilities in schools? Is it towards getting maybe more textbooks per learner? How will this improve education, and what do you see this saving by the ministry if they get rid of the 450,000 ghost learners that they should project the savings towards?
I think the first thing that we need to focus on is strengthening the system itself. Because NEMIS has been with us, so any education system has management system, how you manage information. This has been with us for some time. But now I think seeing how do we strengthen this system to be able to maintain integrity, that is one. Number two, we need also to look at how do we invest in attitude and competency improvement of the managers of the system at the level. Because if we don't change the attitude of the teachers, we don't change the attitude of the managers at the sub-county and the county and national level, then they will fight the system. And then two, now we look at how do we, one, focus on the teachers. If we are able to save some resources from these numbers, is it possible that we can be able to say either we employ more teachers, or we improve skills of the teachers that exist? Because I know it is possible that we can now say, instead of employing 5,000 per year, like we've been doing, can we increase the number to 10 because we have a little savings here and there? Right. We also be able to look at how do we improve facilities in the schools? Because we know there are schools that probably don't have infrastructure. And then we may also want to talk about, I think what we have been talking about, the laptop project for schools, right. If we could be able to strengthen that, particularly for management of information. Because as we give children laptop, I hope we will do, we could be able to strengthen what we are calling school labs, tech labs, so that teachers can be able now to make sure, because this system will not work very well if it is manual. Yeah. Yeah, it has to, I think, to be IT-based, automated, for it to work better. And then we also look at how do we now look at the numbers that are out there, because sometimes you could focus more on those who are already in the system and forget that some Kenyan children have no access to education. Can we be able to say we create space and we bring in more facilities, but also look for Kenyan children who have not been able to access education to come into the system? All right.
I'll need your closing comments, Amos, as we wind up.
Yeah, true. Thank you, Mike. I just want to echo what Andiwa said, but maybe finish by saying that the goodness of a system is as good as the people who are managing it. And so technology cannot weed out all the wrong elements that we have. So what we have to do, we have to invest in integrity. We have to ensure that we're doing the right thing. And we just have to make sure that whatever we do is for the benefit of the Kenyan child.
All right. Thank you very much, gentlemen. Amos Kaburu, who's a Senior Programs Officer at Twaweza, and also Andiwo Obondo, who's an Education Specialist, well, discussing matters education and some of those proposals given by the ministry to weed out 450,000 learners, and also to ensure that all students have an identification PIN number, as it were, so that education is improved. That's where we end the Dawn debate this morning, and we're going to take a short break, but do stay with us right here on the early edition of Kivumbi 2017. When we come back, we've got some stories that are making headlines. Then later on, we'll be looking at a summary of what has happened this week, politically speaking, right here. So do stay with us. We'll be right back.